Hello and welcome to Two Words Wolves Pod. I'm Ryan Eichten and with me is Leo Sun. Leo, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Ryan. I got to lead off today's episode with this. Ryan, would you classify yourself as an Ant fan?
Sure.
Okay, so I would say as Wolves fans, most of us, like the overwhelming majority of us, are Ant fans or Anthony Edwards fans. We love Ant. But my wife and I have been waging a war against a potential ant infestation in our home for weeks now. And, I know Anthony Edwards is the king of ants, but I'm going to really need him to call off his colony because if he doesn't ask them to stand down, we're about to go through a huge, ugly scene for the ants that have been having an infestation within our kitchen right now. And so I've been fighting this. I don't know if this is a new homeowner thing that people deal with all the time, but it has not been fun. And I feel like every time there's a single ant walking around and I kill it, I'm like, do I leave it there for his friends to find, or does that make me too much of a sociopath? Where I'm like, you know what, I'll just rinse them out. But then it's like, how do I send the message across? So anyways, that's my little bit today. Like, I've had it with these damn ants on these damn home that I own.
Yeah, ants are tough. Ants are common though. Like that's a common homeowner thing to experience. You probably got those little traps out, the little circle of white things that they all crawl into. Don't really work.
I've thought about that, but then it's like, oh, what if the dog gets in it? But it's like, well, it's supposed to be designed not to let animals get into it. And so anyway, it's one of those, like, I feel like I beat them and they come back. And that's the most annoying part because I'm like, all right. Anyways, we have a moratorium on the ant talk, but yeah, look.
You'll have to call up Dave Benz for the ant facts. Maybe that'll
Dude,
help you out.
That's a good one. That's funny.
All right. Well, we started off with ant facts, but let's talk about the Lynx. Because the WNBA Playoffs started finally. The Lynx haven't played like a meaningful. They clinched like a couple weeks ago, but they had more or less clinched like a month ago. Yeah. They finished the season 6-5. How many of those 11 games were important to them? I would argue none of them. It's probably going to end up costing Fee MVP. We can talk about that at the end of our Lynx segment, but yeah, they win game 1 against the Valkries. A rough first quarter, first 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes there. I thought Golden State was hitting a bunch of tough shots. Lynx weren't playing good enough defense. Just kind of a rough start to the game, but then from there it was kind of it was the steamroll I think we were hoping to see. From there, it was good to see Dejanay Carrington back and healthy. Obviously, I don't think she played at all in the first half, but they got her some run in the second half, so that was good to see. And hopefully, as they get a couple days off here, they can ramp her back up. But they win by a final score of 101-72. The 3-game series are weird. I guess as a baseball fan, I should be used to it because that's how the first round of the baseball playoffs work. But like as an NBA fan, they got rid of the 5-game series in the first round a long time ago. So it's weird to have like the 3-game series, but ultimately it's kind of like if you can't go up 2-1 against the 8 seed, there's not much else to say. But they seem to be, I mean, I'll let you talk about the game, but just they seem to be in control of this thing, and hopefully it only takes the game 2 on Wednesday to get them on to the next round.
Yeah, Ryan, like you said, the Lynx trailed by 10 early, and yeah, it was some hot shooting by the Valkries. They shot 5 of 8 from 3 in the first quarter, and they went on to shoot 4 of 23 for the rest of the game. And part of that was, Coach Reeve talked about it in the post-game presser about how she had to remind her team, like, hey, we know that this is going to be the Valkyries' game plan, is that they're going to shoot threes. And for the first quarter, they seem to have forgotten that. So she definitely got her message across. And you also mentioned Dejanay not playing the first half. That was also something she addressed in the post-game presser, saying that she felt like she made a mistake in the first half of not putting her in when they needed to kind of change the momentum a little bit. So she played well, in the second half, hit a couple threes, was out there running around. She looked really healthy. And I think with this game in particular, the Lynx they have so many different weapons, and you really got to see it on display there. Obviously, we know what Fee brings, but I mean, you look at the bench of where they come from. And I don't want to always make it a comparison to the NBA here to the Timberwolves, but they have basically like 3 starters that could come off the bench as well too. So there's Dejanay, we talked about. I mean, it seemed like the rest that she missed the last couple weeks due to a nagging shoulder injury that she's been dealing with all season. But seems like just what the doctor ordered. I mean, she looked really good and healthy, and she talked about it even as she was walking through the tunnel after the game. She's like, did you see my pose? Did you see my arm up there? It feels good, so she's feeling good. I think you have Jessica Shepard, again, continues to show that she's a starter quality player. I mean, she was solid on tonight. Again, just her strength. I mean, she has this classic post move where she kind of crab dribbles into the paint, and she jumps up and she does this like double pump like layup, and she often scores an and one off of that. It's just that strength, that upper body strength that she has is just so good. It works so much. And you can't mention the bench without mentioning Natisha Heidemann. Probably, in my opinion, should be a winner, or if not, at least a worst case runner-up for 6th player of the year. So good off the bench, 9 points in the first half, 9 points in the second half as well, too. She's just on an absolute tear. She's in the zone. So the Lynx are just so deep. I mean, K-Mac went off. He had, easy, efficient 20 points again. I don't want to say that the Lynx should be looking past the Valkries. Again, they're the 8th seed. Their series isn't over yet, but it's hard not to be keeping an eye on the other side of the bracket, which is the Mercury and the Liberty, the 4-5 matchup, because even in game 1, that went to overtime. Brianna Stewart suffered a little bit of a knee injury, I guess you could call it. She didn't play very much in overtime when she kind of like banged knees or kind of fell awkwardly. It's kind of non-contact, but she was still in the game, had a brace on. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, hard to complain about this game 1. They took care of business, and we'll see what happens on Wednesday when they travel to not San Francisco, but to San Jose, fortunately due to scheduling error, which again is just another complete oversight of respecting women's sports and just like, oh yeah, we'll just have them play somewhere else, where it's like this expansion team that has one of the best home records and a crazy atmosphere in Chase Center over there, and they're bumping them out for their one lone potential only playoff game of their first expansion season. So
yeah, I obviously follow the NBA more than the W, so I don't want to like come down on them too much about this, but it's just like at some point, if you're gonna be a big boy league, you gotta act like it. And right. Stuff like that you talk about, it's just like that's such small potato stuff. Like you gotta get it right.
Yeah.
Like you just can't. That type of stuff can't happen. So that's unfortunate for their fans. I mean, it's to the Lynx' advantage, I would imagine. Makes finishing off the series on Wednesday much easier. But you mentioned the weapons the Lynx have. I thought the biggest stat was 36-17 bench points advantage. That's just huge, and I mean it just makes sense. The Valkyries are an expansion team. It's honestly impressive that they were able to make the playoffs in their first year, basically taking the players every other team is willing to give up. And putting together a solid roster. Obviously, I think their coach is going to win Coach of the Year, probably deservedly. But they don't have the depth that the Lynx have, and a game like this kind of shows it. Where Courtney Williams, I thought wasn't great to start the game. The Lynx altogether weren't, but Heidemann immediately comes in. I think she had the second highest plus minus. Mm-hmm. Off the bench, or I missed the stat, basically in the history of the WNBA playoffs. And you could tell the minute she came in to the game, and immediately like turned the tides, and she's been doing that all down the stretch as the Lynx have been kind of rotating through players to rest, as like they clinched the 1 seed a long time ago. Heidemann's been the one constant in the lineup, and she's just been sensational, and I think that really helps the lineup overall, because Courtney Williams in the playoffs last year was a little bit up and down, so having another guard in there that can handle and get the offense going is a good sign. And then obviously just like Kayla McBride and Nafisa Collier were awesome, as you'd expect, Fee especially. Just taking care of business as they've done all season. It's just kind of been weird to like down the stretch of the season. It feels like every other team gets there, as the Lynx have just been sitting it out basically. And obviously what Vegas has been able to do in their gigantic winning streak is impressive. But the Lynx they said it on the broadcast tonight, the Lynx are first in offensive rating, first in defensive rating. They're title favorites, as they should be. It's a bit tough that they got the bad draw, assuming the Liberty. I mean, we'll see if Stewart is going to be healthy, but that's the team that they lost to last year, allegedly. But then I think that other than the Lynx, the Aces are the most dangerous team, and if the Lynx are able to make the finals, I would expect Vegas to be there.
Yeah, so you mentioned some of those things. So the official stat for T was she posted she posted a playoff career high in 18 points, but her plus minus, a plus 32, was the second highest in Lynx playoff history. So that's the one that I think you were mentioning. But, the Lynx winning by 29 points, I mean, that's their largest postseason margin of victory in franchise history. And this is a team that is the best. It's a model franchise out there. So the fact that they won by 29, again, even by their own metrics, I mean, that's great. I do have to also mention there's a scary moment there. It was, I think, in the fourth quarter, I believe it was, or late in the third, where Kate Martin went up for a three-point attempt. Nafisa Collier had to try and close out late, and she got called for a foul, but it got reviewed. But upon review, you could see that Kate Martin didn't step on Fee's foot, but instead Kate Martin fell down on Nafisa Collier's right ankle. And it kind of, she came up a little bit lame, went to the bench, and was getting some treatment. It looked like her eyes were a little teared up. It was very, very scary. Those of you who followed the Lynx know that she missed quite a few, many games actually this season, late in the season, I guess, due to the ankle injury. And so I was scared. I was a little bit worried about it. It's like, oh, not again. The Lynx were already up a good amount. She didn't need to be in there. But with about 6 minutes left and they were up, 26, all of a sudden Cheryl Reeve, playing with fire, sends three starters back to sub back into the game, including Nafisa Collier. Now at first I'm like, oh good, she's healthy enough to come back in the game. But second, it's like, yo, we're up 26, like we don't need this. And so luckily I think the Lynx got a steal and the score, and the Valkries called a timeout. Fee actually never ended up coming back in the game, but she was right up there at the scorer's table, ready to come back in. So again, fingers crossed. Hopefully this was just nothing. They can kind of brush it off. But yeah, I mean, it was a dominant game one. I'm excited to see what game two feels like. And I think, this is perhaps a great opportunity for them to get back again, maybe against an easier opponent, but a way to kind of get back into their flow that they kind of lost in the last month of the season when they already clinched that number one seed.
Did you see what the Golden State coach had to say about the officiating after the game?
Yes, I did. Yeah, Natalie Lacasse said that it was basically the officiating that broke their momentum.
To me, like, I mean, it's looking at total free throw totals aren't the great, but like the Valkyries had 3 more free throws than the Lynx. Like they had 27 free throws. Like I don't like when a game you lose by 29. I don't think that that's fair, and maybe that's hypocritical of us, who probably, at least me, complained a little bit about the SGA stuff in the finals last year, but or in the West Finals. But I don't know. That was a weird. I don't know why that. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just like it's a 3-game series, so you have no time left to like this is your time to try to finagle the officiating situation, but. I mean, I didn't think the officials played a gigantic. I mean, I'm not going to stick up for WNBA refs. I don't think that they always do the greatest job, but I didn't think it was a big issue in this game.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm going to tell you this, and for any other Lynx fan that's listening to this, we, of all fan bases, have absolutely zero, reason to have to feel bad about officiating after what happened in the last final. So you can complain all you want. You're going to get zero sympathy from us over here on it. As you said, WNBA officiating is notoriously uneven and inconsistent. And so I know Coach Reeve also had some words for the officials as well, too. She talked about in her presser that after halftime, she went to the refs and said, what did you guys talk about at halftime? Because she also was not happy. And so, the total foul call count was Valkries called for 22 fouls. Lynx call for 23. Again, you can complain about it you want, but again, if you really look at what happened in the game, the officiating was not the reason why the Lynx shot 51% from the field, including 41% from three, had less turnovers as them, out-rebounded the other team, tripled their offensive rebounding, versus the Valkyries. There's so many different things. But I love Natalie Lacasse. I think she's doing a great job. Like you mentioned, she would be a rightful Coach of the Year candidate. So would Cheryl Reeve. So I think either one of those two winning would be great for me. But the tough beans, but we'll see if the Lynx close out on Wednesday.
Yeah, and that should be the goal. Close it out on a Wednesday. If New York's favored to win their series, that'll be in theory a tough one. But the Lynx have played well against them. You're hoping that Brianna Stewart isn't injured for that series, because the Lynx didn't really get to. I don't think they saw her at all during the regular season. But even if she is healthy, New York hasn't really played well all year.
Correct.
One of the reasons why the Lynx coasted to the 1 seed is because through the middle part of the season, they were battling with New York for that 1 seed, and then it just kind of 1 week New York went on a losing streak. Then Lynx looked up and they had a 6-game lead, and it's like, okay, well, I guess we're just gonna ride this one home. But yeah, last Lynx topic I wanted to talk about, and I know I've in our group chats have probably talked your ear off about it enough, but it appears as though, and the AP is one gives out awards, and they did not give Fee MVP. It appears as though A'ja Wilson is going to take MVP over Fee. And maybe I'm too MNBA coded or whatever, but the way that the NBA votes for MVP, Fee would get it. That's how, maybe they don't vote right either, but like the way in the NBA they vote, we just saw it. It's such a SGA winning over Jokic is very similar to this MVP situation, where one team is so much further ahead than everyone else, but the other one has won the last 3 MVPs, or 3 out of 4, or whatever it ends up being. They have, to me, Fee and A'ja Wilson have such incredible, similar counting numbers. Their points, rebounds, assists, turnovers are all very similar, and Fee has the advantage in team success and in efficiency. A fairly sizable advantage in her shooting splits.
Yeah.
And to me, the biggest thing is A'ja Wilson has games played, which is, I would say, if we're deciding MVP on games played, I just disagree. And just like recency bias, the Lynx or the Aces have been awesome the past 15 games, winning every single one of them. But it's just like the Lynx have been awesome all year. And I sent this out to a friend jokingly saying, if we're just going to give MVP based on the ignoring team success and based on the solid second half of the year, then can we go give LaMelo's Rookie of the Year to Ant? Because like that. So that's my point. Is like maybe this is just why like voting for MVP is just dumb, because like I don't know what the qualifications are, because I know if this exact same situation happened in the NBA, Fee would win it. And it just feels like there's a different criteria I'm not seeing, because I don't. And I think what happened, well, one, if you look at like the betting markets, it flipped. Fee was like an 11-1 favorite, or yeah, an 11-1 favorite, and it flipped when the Aces beat them at the end of August. And it's just like the Lynx didn't care about that game. That game shouldn't hold any meaning in terms of MVP, especially when a couple weeks prior the Lynx beat the Aces by 53 points. In what were like, I know in the NBA, again, maybe this is dumb, if one MVP candidate beat another MVP candidate team by 53 points, there's no way like that would end it. And so I just think it's frustrating, and it's really weird that, like you mentioned, Heidemann may or may not win Sixth Player. Cheryl Reeve probably won't win Coach of the Year, and it's like each of these individual awards are fine, like going to another person. Like even A'ja, I just stumped for Fee, but like A'ja Wilson obviously had an incredible season. But like it's just gonna be weird if we look at the end of the season and the only award out of every award, because I think A'ja Wilson's gonna take Depoy instead of Alana Smith too. And it's just like the Lynx were 28-5 and are not going, and the only award they're going to win is Fee getting first team, and that's it. Like it's weird to me. Like I think somewhere these voters are missing why the Lynx are so good. So the Lynx got to win some award. I think is my point.
Yeah, I think you bring up an interesting point. I mean, you look at those head-to-head matchups, right? Obviously, the Lynx beat the breaks off of them, and you could say that victory was the main reason why the Aces season even turned around. Like, say Fee and the rest of the Lynx like struggled a little bit more against the Aces, but still beat them by say like 10 points or a modest 10 to 15 point margin instead. Would A'ja Wilson have had to send like a stern group text to the rest of her team saying like, we need to turn this shit around, otherwise I'm going to demand a trade or something? Like, she didn't say that, but she obviously said some stuff that helped them rattle off this huge win streak. You could say that Fee actually is the most valuable player for the Aces, because if she didn't lead her team to that huge thumping over the Aces, after they beat them, they were 14-14. They were a 500 team. And because of that, they went on, again, this huge win streak. Again, kudos to them. I don't dislike Asia Wilson's game. I think she's a worthy MVP in the past, and I don't think she has a bad case this year. But again, like you said, you have to look at the season in its entirety. If we're looking at that last game where the Aces kind of pulled away in the fourth quarter and won by 10, the Lynx had nothing to play for. That was a game where that was the only game the Aces beat the Lynx all year. They lost to the Lynx 3 times before that. And so it's like we're looking at head-to-head matchups. Like, did those first 3 games not happen? Was Asia Wilson not playing in them? Yeah, I mean, like, come on. This is definitely something that, again, it's going to be frustrating. And again, it is something that when we did our roundtable on Canis Hoopus, I said that if he doesn't win the MVP, it's only going to help the Lynx win the championship. Fee is someone that takes revenge very seriously, as you can tell after they lost in Game 5 of the finals last year, and lost in quotations. They started unrivaled, and she absolutely tore up the league, finished first in the regular season, came up just short at the end, but she won the one-on-one tournament. She started this season just guns blazing, was absolutely dominating, running circles around any other MVP candidate until she went down with that, unfortunate ankle injury. And so, again, if she's snubbed of the MVP this year, if she is, I personally don't think it's over. But again, we'll see. I've seen some voters, some people who have media votes already say that they voted for P for MVP. But again, if she doesn't win, I think it's only going to serve to help the Lynx win the championship because, again, yeah, give us more motivation. That's fine. Go ahead and give it to us because we know, and P has said herself, like, yeah, winning MVP would be cool, in her own words. But, like, I'm more focused on winning a championship this year. That's the main goal. And so, yeah, I agree with you. The Lynx should win something. They're not going to win Executive of the Year. They may or may not rightfully get Coach of the Year. Again, I think Cheryl Reeve should be in contention. I mean, it's the best season in NBA history that they put up, or WNBA season that they've ever put up here. Sixth Player of the Year, MVP, even Defensive Player of the Year for Land. There's so many awards that the Lynx should be up for, and again, it would be absolute travesty if they don't win any of them. But if they don't, like, again, there's one award. There's one thing we care about. It's winning championship number 5.
Yeah, I kind of wonder. So they're 28-5 and they finished the season 6-5. Basically, just they. I think they knew they were the 1 seed, and that to me totally makes sense why they didn't finish the season strong, because they didn't have to. And so I just wonder how much of these conversations would be different if the Lynx won an extra 2 ball games because they needed to. And they were, instead of being 4 games clear of the rest of the league, they were 6 or 7. I just wonder if that would change people's minds, and if it would, I just kind of feel like you got to take into context. Like the Lynx were so much better than everyone else in the regular season. That's just kind of what. Like, if you go look up the standings, it might not look like the Lynx were head and shoulders the best team in the regular season. So it just feels weird to not reward the best player who, I don't know, like, I just think that should outweigh the small statistical advantages people feel like Asia Wilson has. But it's not against her, because, like, she's won 3 other MVPs, and she's probably having her best season. So, like, she's more than deserving of the award. But, yeah, we can move on to probably another frustrating topic. Really the only topic so far, or right now in the NBA going on, and that's the Pablo Torre has certainly found out. The Clippers they're in a Joe Smith situation of their own. I'm not going to try to do the whole wrap up of the situation with Kawhi and this company called Aspiration, who has defrauded people. Go listen to Pablo Torre Finds Out. He's got about 3 episodes on it now. But the first one especially, basically what he's found out here is that Kawhi and this company Aspiration have this marketing deal where Kawhi is required to do, and I'm quoting here, fuck all. That is what he's, that not my words. That's what he's required to do. So nothing. For $7 million a year, totaling $28 million. And then he also received stock or whatever that gets him up to $48 million. And what it's also found out that Steve Ballmer's put in $50 million into this company, and it's very clear, or at least circumstantially clear, that that they are circumventing the salary cap. And this was all the way back when they originally got Kawhi and they traded away SGA for Paul George so that they could lure Kawhi. It's come out that Kawhi and his uncle Dennis, which I think a lot of people remember from back in the San Antonio days, asked the Raptors to give Kawhi part ownership of the Toronto Maple Leafs, among other things. So it's very clear that Kawhi has asked for all this stuff, and it's just blatant salary cap circumvention. And now it's going to kind of come down to the NBA is investigating the whole thing, and what is the worthy punishment for all this? Again, go listen to Pablo Torre's reporting on this. Even if you have to pause us, go listen and come back if you haven't already, because it lays out the situation better than I ever could. But my gut feeling, and I think you have a similar feeling, is that they're going to come light on the punishment, the NBA is, because they're somewhat incentivized to do so. But to me, at this point, and I should probably, to me, the dagger has come this weekend in two parts. One, Pablo has found out that the 1% co-owner with Ballmer, new Dennis, sorry for your Asian brethren out there, have been circled into this situation, has put in, as this company has, and the reason why this is all being found out in the first place is because this company has just defrauded people. They were doing carbon offset emissions with planting trees, but they never really planted any trees. And they defrauded people, and the company has fallen apart. Their bankruptcy, so this public bankruptcy filings are being combed through by Pablo and others. But the Dennis that co-owns the Clippers put in $2 million because Aspiration was late to their Kawhi payment. And why is Kawhi their biggest creditor? Like, they have Tom Cruise and others in as creditors in this whole thing, but they're not getting paid out. And then, and now they found out that Ballmer also has put in more money after he knew that this was a failing investment of people that had defrauded him, basically, to make sure that Kawhi gets his payment. This is certainly circumstantial, but Kawhi was basically being load managed at an 80% clip before his payment, and then he started playing 90% of the games after he got his money. But that's the definition of circumstantial right there. But the real smoking gun here is both that, where they're putting in more money into a failing company to make sure Kawhi gets his money, but then this statement that was given by Aspiration's ex-CFO, ex-COO, ex-CLO, and ex-CTO. So all the C's and O's, but basically people that used to work for the company, they have given this statement. At the time of the KL2 Aspiration LLC endorsement, so that's Kawhi's LLC that they were pumping money into, with Kawhi Leonard, called the Kawhi deal, we served as Aspirations, again, all those letters. The Leonard deal was presented to the company as a completed arrangement. So that's a key phrase right there. They came to this company with this Kawhi salary cap alleged circumvention. They had already completed it and came to their business people with this deal already in hand. And I'm quoting now, and executed by Mr. Cherney, despite significant objections from members of the senior management team. It did not reflect any strategy previously communicated to us, nor was it reviewed through Aspiration's investment committee process. For comparison, a transaction of similar size, $29.5 million, in the same period was subject to that review, as described in the federal court decision in blah, blah, blah legal jargon. The team expressed concerns at that time regarding the high cost of the arrangement and its lack of alignment with Aspiration's brand and business strategy. While subsequent marketing efforts were undertaken, they were ultimately discontinued and should not be interpreted as support for the deal itself. In our judgment, the Leonard deal was not in the company's best interest. It was strategically difficult to justify then, and it remains so. And at this point, where I'm at with this, is if you're going to call all of this circumstantial, and you're just, basically my thought is like, you can call anything in the history of the world circumstantial if you plug your ears and close your eyes and sing la 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 like a little baby. If you do that, you'll never see anything. And so at this point, that's where I'm at. They circumvented the cat to the tune of $48 million to get a free agent. Now, do other teams also circumvent the cat? Probably. To this degree, I really don't think so. And so if you're not going to come down on this, other teams will start doing it. And to me, it gets at the heart of the whole. Adam Silver himself, and Pablo mentions this multiple times, has called salary cap circumvention a cardinal sin. And I grew up Catholic. The cardinal's the bad one. Cardinal sin's the bad one. If you're not going to punish someone for getting Kawhi $48 million outside of the cap, it eats at like why we watch this. Are we watching a sport or is it wrestling? Because if this is allowed, it feels like wrestling. And the NBA has had their problems with similar stuff. The officiating scandal of the early aughts is also potentially league wrecking. But like you have to punish them, and I really honestly don't know what the proper punishment is, because voiding the deal, he's not on that contract anymore. Just voiding the deal, as a Wolves fan, I don't want them to void the deal, because I can almost guarantee you Kawhi Leonard will be on the Lakers on a mid-level contract halfway through the year. So I don't know what you do. At the very least, you gotta take away multiple first round picks. To me, that, and you take away their first round picks and you make them sit with the Kawhi deal they have, because he gets paid $100 million over the next 2 seasons, which honestly isn't a great deal, given his injury. So I talked a lot. It's a difficult situation. What do you think can or should be done, or do you have anything from after my long spiel?
You're fired up, Ryan. I like it.
I think it's important. I just don't think that this can be something that they get a slap on the wrist, they lose a pair of second round picks, and they sweep it under the rug, and like they're certainly going to put in better safeguards for future teams, which is great. But like I just don't think it can be that. And I mean, if that is what it is, then like I would like a written apology as a Wolves fan for the Joe Smith debacle, because I get that there's a difference between the Wolves had a written agreement with Joe Smith because Joe Smith's side thought Glenn Taylor wasn't going to live out this deal, which is hilarious because as of a couple months ago, he still owned the Wolves. I get that they don't have that slip of paper, but like again, if you don't consider what the reporting that's been done around this to that level, then I just think you're being willfully ignorant. And so at this point, to me, it's like, if you think $48 million of salary cap circumvention isn't worth a hefty punishment, then I worry about just like the integrity of the league. And if you think that the current reporting doesn't give the burden of proof, then I just think you're being willfully ignorant there. So I think it's important, and I think they need to give some sort of meaningful punishment. To the degree to which, I don't know. The Clippers don't have 3 first-round picks to give away. But, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I think so. I think many people are in agreement that the Wolves got a really, really like rough end of the deal, right? Like for what happened with them with the whole Joe Smith thing. I think a lot of people also feel, the general sentiment is that the Clippers are probably gonna get away with it with the slap on the wrist. So if you look at the inequality of that, the only way to really balance that is to make the Clippers give their picks to the Timberwolves, right? No, I'm just kidding. They have no picks to give, but it is unfortunate. I mean, I'm with you. It's very, very obvious that they're in the wrong, but I think it's also very, very obvious that Adam Silver wants to avoid punishing them as much as possible, because again, by doing that, he's basically agreeing that their investigation 2019 was not good enough. The first time they investigated him, and saying that look, we didn't do a good enough job the first time. Now with new evidence, we have to go back. It's kind of like when referees are being reviewing a play that's being challenged, where the head official called the foul, and then they're the ones ultimately making the subjective decision. They want to overturn their own call, basically. And so again, there's a natural inclination of them to probably not want to do it. And again, I've said this on social media. I've said it all over in text with people, where the whole Adam Silver part of all of this is that I feel like Adam Silver has really gone as far as he has off the banning Donald Sterling for life thing, that people give him so much credit for that we forget how lackadaisical he's been, asleep at the wheel that he's been in, for so much of his tenure as an NBA commissioner. Again, I understand he's a commissioner. He's not the one that makes all the calls on, on his own. But again, the types of, let's just say, for example, the types of suspensions that he's handed out to players that are very obviously committed some type of domestic violence situation, where he's just like, we'll kind of let it slide. He's been so soft-handed in all of this. I can't believe that he would do something that David Stern, obviously did with the Timberwolves. And so all that to say, I think it really points to the fact that I think Adam Silver is already light-handed in general, but he's also dealing with one of the most influential people in the entire world that's actively an owner of an NBA team, which is Steve Ballmer. So Steve Ballmer, for those of you who are unaware, is the 7th richest man in the world, according to Bloomberg, Forbes, a lot of other things like that. And not only is he rich, but he has a lot of influence, a lot of high places, politically, internationally, a lot of different things. So would Adam Silver want to potentially, I don't say piss this guy off, but basically like tell him like, hey, we're coming down hard on you? Again, is that right or wrong? I think that's not right. Ethically, I think morally, that's not right for him to give him preferential treatment because of who he is. But I think that's enough reason for him to be like, hey, look, you know what? There wasn't, like you said, that signed document. There wasn't that signed thing from Steve Ballmer saying, I am circumventing the cap by doing this. Again, I agree 100% with you. It's very obvious they're wrong. There's so many pieces of evidence that you even cited yourself right now of why they absolutely did circumvent the cap. So at the end of the day, what do I think is going to happen? He's probably going to find them, handful of maybe tens of millions of dollars, again, which is like $10 to you and I. He's probably going to say like, hey, you're going to be, suspended maybe from like team activities for like a year. At most, even though, he's still going to somehow be involved. Again, he's just going to do some type of thing to make it seem like he's doing some type of punishment when in reality he's not really doing anything to it, which is unfortunate. But again, this whole thing has been really wild. I mean, Ryan, you talked about it already, that if you haven't listened to Pablo's podcast or even when you have Mark Cuban on, it's incredibly not only interesting, but incredibly funny. I really, really encourage you to listen to that as well, too. It's been so fun. I love his podcast, just not even on this topic of all things.
The Cuban stuff is so. Hey, but I was reminded of this. Guess who disagreed with Sterling being kicked out of the league? Mr. Mark Cuban.
Yep.
He's had a history of protecting the owners at all costs, and as a sports fan, as much as this more or less business story going on, as a sports fan, I think Cuban should shut the heck up. As a sports, again, this is just as a sports fan, that Luka Doncic trade, you should crawl in a hole as a sports fan. Like, that's your fault, man. You sold the team. Like, this is, you could have stopped this, but you sold the team. Like, he owns 24. If you wanted to do this, if you wanted to be on, like, go defend Ballmer on Pablo's podcast, why did you sell the team to the second richest owners in the NBA? Like, to a bunch of casino magnates. Like, I don't know. Cuban rubs me the wrong way.
Absolutely. He's already taken aim at the Wolves more recently with the headline about him being upset about Ant's foot crossing the free throw line when he shoots free throws. He was complaining about that recently, we didn't see. So, he is not a guy that, again, I think a lot of people give him a lot of credit for like, oh, well, he's, whatever his political affiliations are, or, he's on Shark Tank, or like, oh, he's a guy that really, pushed for, giving players more, benefits and things like that as an owner. Like, yeah, okay, that's great. But he is not a guy that,
I think Mark O'Leary, the guy that's the guy
Dennis O'Leary or whatever. Yeah.
Or no, sorry, the guy in Shark Tank,
Kevin.
Kevin O'Leary, yes.
Yeah.
I think that guy does a lot to help Mark's Shark Tank stuff, because like he comes off as much more likable than he probably comes off very likable in Shark Tank, but like I don't know, I'm tired of it's just so obvious what Cuban's doing. He's just caping up for his billionaire buddy. Like,
of course. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't he want to ally himself with one of the most influential and richest people in the world, right? So, not surprising, unfortunately. But
I agree with you. It's likely going to be I'm not even asking for a Joe Smith punishment. I just think it has to be like at least a first round pick. Like, at the very least, like if you like college, it's like you didn't have control of your program. Like, that's what this is. Like, even if you can somehow prove they didn't know anything, which is just like, I don't think you can reasonably do at this point. I think if you're saying that, you're an unreasonable person. But even if you could, like, you have to have some sort of control over. You signed a jersey sponsor that ended up like defrauding people. Like that's bad. And the fact that that company is giving one of your players a bunch of money to do nothing, and you're invested, like it's all, at the very least, it's a bad look. So like, right. You can't do nothing. And yeah. I disagree with people saying that it's not a big deal, because I think it is. And I disagree with people saying like this happens all over the league. I don't think it does. I mean, little deals, of course, like people paying for dinners that I guess technically they're not supposed to, giving plane flights, 100, like money here and there. 100%, millions maybe even here and there, but like $48 million, I do not think that that's happening everywhere. It's like, to me, it's like not a coincidence.
They don't have the latitude to do that. That Ballmer does, obviously. Which is part of
Ballmer has Ballmer has 20 times as much money as the next highest person, and like 100 times as much money as. I mean, he has $150 billion. That's. Yeah. I mean, you could give away 99% of that, and you're still a billionaire. Like. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Topic 2, Leo. What do we got?
Yeah, so EuroBasket just concluded this. If you're listening to this, we recorded on Sundays, on Monday yesterday. EuroBasket concluded, and Germany narrowly won. They pulled away late against Turkey, and they were led, the German team, by former NBA player Isaac Bonga, who scored a team-high 20 points. If those of you remember who he was, he had some short stints with the Lakers, the Wizards, I think a couple other teams. And some late clutch shots by Dennis Schroeder, of course, who is basically the Michael Jordan of international hoops right now. Meanwhile, Giannis Antetokounmpo and his brothers won bronze in the bronze medal match against Finland with Lauri Markkanen. So that concluded. And so, what are your thoughts on EuroBasket? Did you watch any of it? What were your main thoughts coming off of it? Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't really watch any of it because none of the Wolves were in it. So I didn't really catch it. Germany won the World Cup when Ant was playing in it a couple years ago, right?
Yes, yeah. I don't know if it was so. Yeah, I think it was a World Cup. Yeah, that was the year that we had. Ant was kind of starring with Austin Reeves, Paolo Banchero.
Yeah, so it seems like Germany's got like this second wave of quality players. Were the Wagner brothers playing out there?
Franz was, but I think Mo was either still recovering from injury, but he definitely was not playing. No, he was not active.
Yeah, so they got a solid squad. I don't know if they looking forward to the Olympics. They probably don't have the firepower to keep up with, obviously, the U.S., but like Spain and even Serbia.
Well, like France, even, for example, they didn't have, obviously, Wemby wasn't playing. Rudy opted out. A lot of their high players, higher ranking players were not active. So yeah, it wasn't as big as a World Cup or Olympics.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway, just kind of seeing some of the clips, is like, get Lauri Markkanen off of Utah. Like, he is such a good player. Timberwolves legend. Can we go with that one?
Yeah, one time he wore the hat.
What the Jazz are doing is so gross. Like they're like, we're not going to sit any of our players this year. Well, that's because we don't have any. Yeah. Like just trade him. Trade him east also, please. Like, get him. Go. Does Miami want him? I don't know. Who in the East can they go to Detroit or something? I don't know. Just don't trade him to like the Warriors or something. I don't know. Yeah. What were your thoughts on EuroBasket?
I always find, I didn't watch a ton of it, to be honest. Again, there's some time things and whatnot, but I did watch the gold medal match today, or the gold, if you want to call it gold medal match. And international play for me is always fun because I love seeing like the who's who of who they play for, like type guys. It's like, oh yeah, I remember Isaac Bonga. Like, oh, Daniel Tice hit a big three. Like, is he still on an NBA roster right now? Things like that. I got to see Shane Larkin and Jetty Osman team up for Turkey, and that was really cool. I was a big Shane Larkin believer. I think he played for Miami back in the day in college. And, I always love those like short, athletic, bouncy kind of dudes like him and Peyton Siva. Those were guys that they played really well overseas. But it's always fun to kind of see them pop up. Like, oh man, I bet you Alexei Shved is out there probably repping for Russia somewhere still, But you mentioned it earlier. No Wolves players played, and to be honest, I couldn't be happier about that. I need Gobert to rest. Dante DiVincenzo, was supposed to play for Italy, but he didn't because there was rumors at first if he re-injured a toe, but it was like no, it's just his pre-existing one. They're just resting him. Berenger was also not playing for France either, so I would like to maybe see him play. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy for Giannis. If you haven't watched his post-game presser, he gets really emotional as he often does, but talking about what it meant to win with his brothers, how it's been such a big goal for his family and to represent Greece and even Nigeria as well too, where his family was originally from. Means so much to him. And again, I love Giannis just as a person. He's even as a basketball player as well too. So I was really happy to see them finally be able to take home medals together. So yeah, it was fun. It's always good to watch, especially when it's low stakes, no Wolves involved. So I'm not really worried too much about it. But it's always good. Players always seem to turn into like these. Again, you have your Dennis Schroeders. For Germany, when Ricky Rubio once upon a time won MVP of I believe it was a EuroBasket as well too. Or it was actually it was a FIBA World Cup. I believe Ricky Rubio won an MVP. So you see these players just kind of take their games to another level when they're playing overseas for their country, which is great. You don't often see that for the USA because they really only seem to save that for the Olympics. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and the 2008 Dream Team just got put in the Hall of Fame, and the gold medal match was against Ricky and the Gasol brothers and the Spain team. So
hey, Chris Paul shouted out Ricky Rubio, saying that in that gold medal game that they had 17-year-old or 18-year-old Ricky Rubio talking all kinds of crazy to them. So again, it's one of those like game recognized game. I love that. I mean, again, that's what, like our prime Ricky phase was like right before he was going to start suiting up. For actually a couple more years before he got started his Timberwolves career. But yeah, it's good to see that.
Yeah. All right, we can finally talk Wolves. We've talked Lynx and Clippers, EuroBasket, but we got one final Wolves topic. So John Krasinski's been reporting that it seems like Bones Hyland's going to get the kind of the last roster spot. I think, me reading tea leaves, I think they're going to go into the roster with probably 14 guys.
Yeah.
They currently have 13. They have like Johnny Juzang on a training camp deal. They're going to sign Bones here at some point. Training camp starts in like 2.5 weeks, so they got to kind of get on that. I'm not sure if they're waiting for something or they're probably
waiting for PJ Dozier to be available for a training camp deal.
I guess, but basically they're going to go with Bones over. I'm not sure if they had. I know they kicked the tires on guys like Malcolm Brogdon and Landry Shamet. I guess, what are your thoughts about going with Bones over kind of more proven guys that maybe have a better chance of, if you need like a third point guard to actually play minutes, Shamet and Brogdon or other guys that they could have gone after? What are your thoughts about them going with it seeming like Bones instead of that level of player?
Yeah, it feels like, we're in prime slop season, so I think, fans are a little anxious, right? Where it's like they're really, really caring about what happens with this 14th person, spot on the roster. But, it seems like they were kind of divided, right? One half of them was we don't need to be adding any other veteran dudes and the bench that might be taking minutes away from Rob Dillingham. Like, let's not give Chris Finch a potential player to play ahead of Rob if Rob's not doing well. So leave it, don't sign a veteran guy, right? On the other side of it, you have, players or fans that are like, oh, we why not? We need to be signing like if Russ is available, let's get him. If Ben Simmons is available, let's get him. Let's just try and get as many, NBA type players. I don't know, Ben Simmons I think he announced his retirement recently, but whatever. Like, let's fill that with playable guys, like just in case of emergency. And so I find myself more on the like, I don't really give a shit what they do with it because, again, they have basically 10 guys already who are guaranteed minutes and need opportunities, all the way going down to, say, at the bottom of it where you have, your Terrence Shannons, your Jalen Clarks and things like that, right? I don't think there's opportunity for us to need to sign a Shamet or a Brogdon or even like, making a move for Jordan Clarkson or whatever the case was. Funny, all three of those, who the Wolves did kick the tires on, according to John Kay, ended up signing with the New York Knicks and our friend Kat over there. So we'll see how that works, because they did the opposite, where they're backfilling with as many old guys that, has-beens or, kind of fringe dudes over there. So as far as, Bones goes, as a 14th guy, if he becomes that, I think, if anything, that's more of a favor that they're doing for Rob. Those of you who are unfamiliar, Rob Dillingham is close friends with Bones Hyland. They've known each other for some time. They play unsurprisingly a very similar type of basketball, similar type build. Obviously, Rob's a little bit smaller than Bones, but they're kind of that microwave scoring type, can get out of the heater type thing. And so I think by them committing to Bones, not that Bones is useless. I mean, we've seen him being able to contribute to the Nuggets, his rookie contract back then. That I think they're doing that more to, placate Rob, to be hey, look, we have a guy that, knows the type of style of basketball you're going to play and can also help mentor you in a way that obviously Mike, has mentored him so far. And again, Mike and Rob have grown really close in the last year as well too. So, I'm not upset about it. Again, I'm not the biggest Bones Hyland fan, but I think it's cool. It's cool for the vibes. He's a good bench guy. He's obviously way too good to be in the G League, as he averages 30 points when he plays there. But yeah, I don't know what happens to that final spot. You did say that, it's very possible that Finch or Connolly decides to walk into the season with just 14 guys. But yeah, you mentioned Johnny Juzang, whoever else they might be signing. Again, I don't think it's really necessary for fans to lose their minds for a breaking case of emergency type event.
Yeah, I tend to agree that this is the 14th guy on the roster. It's likely not going to play many, if at all, minutes. If they are needing minutes from this roster spot, I think that's a sign of worse things. They're already kind of in trouble,
or things are going so well that we're constantly playing our 14th guys.
That's true, but I just think last year, the 8 starters thing was, but even this year they bring back 7 of their 8 rotation guys from last year, and certainly Shannon and Dillingham are going to. They should and will play relatively significant portions, and Jalen Clark is another guy. So you have 8.5 right there. I think Jalen Clark will kind of be some games there, some games not. I always think with Jalen Clark, I saw him remember playing when they played the Jazz, and I'm just he's just not worth it. They don't have anyone for him to guard that's worth it. His main skill isn't really being used, but you get a solid matchup where there's just a prime Jalen Clark person for him to guard. So I think he'll kind of bounce in and out of the rotation, but you got 8.5 guys there. I don't see where the minutes would come from, to be honest. So then they're probably already going to need to kind of, we'll see how much Mike plays in terms of both games played and in minutes during the game, but they're going to probably have to try to get creative to get their 8.5 in there compared to what they were doing last year. So I'm more with you. It's just not a big deal, but it is something to monitor mentally. Let's see if what Brogdon and Shamet look like. I mean, I'm just so unbelievably curious what Rob will look like. I'm in the camp of just get him a bunch of minutes.
You have to.
They should. This team has enough that they should be able to win plenty of games, even if Rob is costing them minutes wise. I just think they have enough that you got to work him in there. It's time to see what it's got. You paid a fairly big price for him, so and then obviously Shannon is one of their 8 best players. He should play.
Right. I also have to interject. You mentioned 8.5 a couple times. By my count, I'm saying they have 9.5 guys that should be playing, right? So you have your starting. Let's just say the starting 5 stays the same. Mike's still going to start, right? Then you have Nas off the bench. You have Dante off the bench, right? And then you have Rob, who should be playing minutes off the bench. And then that leaves Terrence, Shannon Jr. as well too as 9, and then you have Jalen Clark, who I would count as a half. So to me, that's 9.5. So again, we're looking at, I'll count them off real quick. I see you trying to do the math in your head. So we have Ant, we have Rudy, we have Julius, and then we have Jaden, and then we have Mike. That's starting 5, right? And then we have Nas, we have Dante, then we have
you're
Rob.
Right. It is 9.5, not 8.5.
So that's what I'm saying is that they even have more guys that should be playing. So that's why the 14th guy should matter even less, So again, I'm with you. I think we're in the same line of thinking about it. It's just, I don't think that's worthy kind of getting all worked up about as a fan.
Yep. And I mean, I kind of think if Mike goes down, or if Mike just how many over under on the number of second half of back-to-backs Mike's played, it should be 1 or 2 in the entire season, in my opinion. I think Dante's going to play a lot of starting point guard minutes. Yeah. Maybe even that might be an interesting question for media day. It's just is Mike going to be the starter on opening night? If he is, how long will that last? If he's not, who is it going to be? Dante, kind of like it was last season.
Or is it Rob time?
Is it Rob? Certainly at the beginning of the season, it's going to be Dante if they go that route.
Yeah, we'll see how camp goes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think my we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves in terms of like preseason content, but like my big hot take for the Wolves would be like I think Dante's gonna have a really good year. I think I think he was hurt most by the trade in terms of just trying to find a role. Really, I mean, and just shooting is a volatile thing. Like you can have good and bad seasons with that.
Injury.
And the injury was probably like the best thing for him in a weird way.
Yeah, no, I think in a personal way, maybe in a personal way.
Him and Randall both kind of talked about that, just kind of getting settled. I think the timing of that trade was, and it's why at least from a regular season standpoint, I'm fairly bullish on the Wolves. I just think the timing of the trade, and we don't have to relitigate the Cat trade. We'll do that a different day, I guess, but. We're still there's so many trades to relitigate. We got the Rudy trade to relitigate. Speaking of Larry Markkinen, we can go back and relitigate the Jimmy Butler trade if we really feel like it.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, I think Dante's gonna have a really good season, and I think the Wolves should be able to put up a bunch of regular season wins just because. I guess they can make another huge trade right before training camp. There's nothing stopping them. It'd be less surprising what should go look up what the exact date of the Cat trade is because we're probably bumping up on here. Yeah. And shout out to Cat. He got inducted into the Kentucky Hall of Fame, and I saw him out there with their basketball team out there practicing. So shout out to Cat for that.
Speaking of practice, a lot of Timberwolves players have been coming into the facility. I mean, we've seen Julius, we've seen Jaden, which is
Jaden at the Lynx game.
Yeah, exactly. Nas has been around. Ant, after doing his China tour, he's been around. So again, they're all there, and I think that continuity is going to matter. So.
Yep. All right. I saw Ant hit a home run out at Target Field. It was just dorking around. He's been at Target. He was like running stairs at one point at the stadium at one point. I don't know what he's doing, but he
wacky off season.
Enjoy the good weather, I guess. But all right, let's wrap this up with our 2 words. Mine are 8 more. Lynx got to win 8 more games for the title. It's as simple as that. Starts or continues, I should say. Started today on Sunday. Continues on Wednesday. Hopefully they close it out and it kind of feels like the real playoffs start in the second round here. Yeah. With kind of teams that could conceivably beat them.
Same vein, talking about women's sports, my 2 words is pay women. The women's MBPA, the Players Association, continued on their ongoing negotiations with the league to try and come up with a new CBA, and they're still, according to the last report, still pretty far apart on that, unfortunately. And on a week ago for the New York Labor Day Parade, the WNBPA was present, and they were all sporting the Pay Us What You Owe Us shirts, or Pay Them What You Owe Them shirts as well too, and signs. And yeah, I mean, they're getting a lot of momentum. A lot of people are backing them. I'm hoping that the NBA and the other partners back them as well too. And again, this is something that I feel like is a non-negotiable. I know people like to laugh that no one cares about women's sports, but that's just not the reality. People do care about women's sports, and we should value them as such because again, they're on the receiving end of just a lot of, I don't want to say exploitation, but a little bit. They're putting up great product, they're bringing in a ton of money, and they're not seeing it. And there's plenty of other great alternatives for them. If they want to play, if the WNBA wants to play hardball. Unrivaled is also continued. It was a wild success in season 1. They're going to start season 2 after this WNBA season's over. That Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart, co-founded, and they have a ton of young talent who've signed with them. If you follow Unrivaled on social media, you see they've been putting out great marketing. They have anyone from you have your AZ Fudge, you have your Lauren Betts, you have Sarah Strong. You got so many of these great young players. Flaugier. They're all signed with it. They're all part of it. They want to be a part of it. So yeah, if you want to play hardball, that's fine. They'll find a way, and I hope you all support them as well too. Pay the women.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunately more than likely going to be an ugly fight, as all of these collective bargaining agreements are. I talk about being a baseball fan. MLB's got their own fight coming up here in a couple seasons, but they just can't have a significant lockout. They can't have a missing season. The momentum is so good for the league right now. They made a mistake not investing in Unrivaled when they had the chance. Now that league is taken off, now the WNBA business valuations have skyrocketed in the past year or two. And so maybe that helps the players, that the owners will be willing to concede a little bit, but I mean they're just getting they're getting like baseball players get like they probably have the most unsuccessful union, at least recently, I would argue, and they get paid like at least 40% of the revenue. Basketball and football, it's like pretty much 50-50. And the W players right now are like, I don't remember, I should go look up the number. It's very low. And I'm not sure they're going to really get or ask for 50-50. They probably deserve it, but at the very least, like they are entitled to like a 5x pay bump.
Sure.
And it'll be something tough. Like you can't just keep like the players that are in multi-year contracts. You're probably gonna have to retroactively raise their salaries because, like we saw in the NBA, like when they had a salary cap bump, it kind of destroyed the league. As some people would argue, as Durant went to the 73-win Warriors. But I mean, if they can just get a deal done and get the season started on track, it's just a must.
Right, I agree.
All right. Well, that's where we're going to wrap up. This pod is going to start to kind of pick up in episodes. We got Media Day in 2 weeks. A little bit after that, preseason starts, but going to have some interviews, start to get some episodes out there as we start to get the season going, and we'll see what the Lynx can do, but it's hard not to be pumped about what the Lynx are hopefully able to accomplish.
Yeah, as Anthony Edwards once said, the king of ants, bring your ass to the Lynx game if you haven't been yet. So
awesome. Yep. Well, for Leo, I'm Ryan. Thank you everyone for listening.
Get home, drive safe.
Go Wolves.